Have you ever been treated like you don't belong? Not because of what you did, but because of who you are or what someone assumes about you. And then someone says, don't take it personally. But here's the truth your body already knows. Your nervous system does take it personally. Your blood vessel do respond, and your heart keeps the receipt. Today, we are talking about discrimination, the chronic, repeated unfair treatment that can quietly load the cardiovascular system until one day it shows up as high blood pressure, a heart rhythm problem, chest pain, or even a broken heart event. I am Emmanuel Eroumé A Egom, a cardiologist, senior physician scientist, and professor of medicine. This is education, not personal medical advice. If you have chest pressure, severe shortness of breath, fainting, a new fast or irregular heartbeat with dizziness or sudden weakness on one side, treat it as urgent and seek emergency care. This episode is not a debate about whether discrimination is real. It's a clear look at what repeated unfair treatment can do to human physiology and a heart protection plan you can actually use. A published case report tells the story of a 48-year-old female lawyer. For about 18 months, she had been dealing with increasing work-related mental stress in a new managerial role. And the distress escalated into something darker, workplace bullying. Then came a workplace meeting, an emotionally loaded moment, and she developed acute chest pain. At first, clinicians thought it was a non-ST elevation heart attack. This means a heart attack pattern that may not show the most dramatic ECG changes, but still raises serious concern. Her ECG, the heart's electrical tracing, and her troponin, a blood test that can rise when heart muscle is injured, looked concerning. But the deeper workup revealed something else. Her heart had temporarily changed how it was pumping, a pattern classic for Takotsubo syndrome. This is often called stress cardiomyopathy or broken heart syndrome. And her coronary arteries, the blood vessel that supply the heart, were normal and geography. This is not weakness. This is what can happen when the body lives too long in treat physiology and then gets hit by one more wave. Discrimination is not only an emotion, it is an environment your body has to interpret. When the brain senses threat, especially social threat, it releases stress signals. These signals can raise heart rate, raise blood pressure, tighten blood vessels, which means the vessel becomes narrower, shift the body toward a more clot-ready state, and disturb sleep and recovery. And here is the part most people miss. It is not only the incident, it is also the anticipation. Researchers sometimes call this vigilance, walking into spaces already braced for impact, preparing yourself before anything even happens, scanning the room, measuring your words, trying to stay safe before danger is even named. One study using 24 hours blood pressure monitoring found that more everyday discrimination was linked to less blood pressure dipping at night. Blood pressure dipping simply means that blood pressure normally goes down during sleep. When it does not dip well, the cardiovascular system does not power down as fully during the night. And that matters because nighttime recovery is part of how the heart stays resilient. Let's separate two realities because this is where families often get confused. First, if you already have coronary artery disease, often shortened to CAD, that means the blood vessel feeding the heart already have narrowing or plaque buildup. In that setting, discrimination-linked stress can be the spark. It can make the heart work harder. It can tighten blood vessels so less oxygen gets delivered. It can affect the smallest blood vessels, and in vulnerable situations, it can contribute to reduced blood flow or rhythm instability. Second, if you have no known coronary artery disease, you are not automatically immune. Repeated discrimination can still drive high blood pressure over time, affect blood vessel function, and in some people, trigger an acute stress response that looks like a heart attack, such as Takotsubo syndrome. So, the message is not discrimination always causes a heart attack. The message is this: discrimination can raise baseline vulnerability and then make acute moments more dangerous. Same stress, different terrain, different pathways. Now, let's ground this in data. One of the strongest long-term data sets comes from the multi-ethnic study of atherosclerosis, often called MESA. This study followed adults aged 45 to 84 who did not have clinical cardiovascular disease at the start. Researchers measured two kinds of discrimination: lifetime discrimination, meaning unfair treatment across major areas of life, and everyday discrimination, meaning day-to-day experiences. Over a median of 10 plus 1 years of follow-up, 604 cardiovascular events occurred among 6,508 participants. That means that in the overall group, events were not rare. Roughly about 9% experienced an event over about 10 years. Now, the key finding: people reporting lifetime discrimination in 2 or more domains compared with none had a higher risk of future cardiovascular disease. The adjusted hazard ratio was about 1.38. Let me translate that. This is not a headline like 10 times the risk. It is more like a steady, measurable increase, the kind that matters when multiplied across years and millions of lives. And the pattern matters too. More domains of unfair treatment were linked with higher risk. Repeated unfair treatment may not always explode into one dramatic moment. Sometimes it quietly raises the floor of risk. Now, let's go to a higher risk group: people who already had a heart attack. A study of 295 people after a heart attack looked at whether everyday discrimination was linked to something called mental stress-induced myocardial ischemia. That phrase sounds complicated, but here is the simple meaning. When the heart is under emotional or mental stress, part of the heart may not get enough blood and oxygen for a short time. That is ischemia. Overall, 16.6% experience this stress-related ischemia. In the lowest discrimination group, about 11% experience it. In the highest discrimination group, about 25% experience it. That is a big jump in a real clinical population. In adjusted models, each standard deviation increase in discrimination score was linked with higher odds of stress related to ischemia. In women, the association was even stronger. An exploratory analysis among Black women showed an even larger signal. Here is the public message. Sometimes, the most damaging stress response is not the one you feel dramatically. Sometimes, it is the one that quietly steals oxygen from the heart during emotional load. If heart attacks are the dramatic headlines, high blood pressure is often the long preface. In another meta-analysis, Black participants reporting any lifestyle discrimination were more likely to develop high blood pressure compared with those reporting none. The adjusted hazard ratio was about 1.35. And when researchers zoomed out beyond a single cohort, a systematic review found that perceived racial discrimination had a small but significant association with high blood pressure, with stronger links in certain group and setting. So, discrimination can work like this: acute spikes, minutes to hours, chronic load, months to years, and disrupted recovery, especially sleep and nighttime blood pressure patterns. That is a cardiovascular recipe we cannot afford to ignore. There is also evidence at the structural level, meaning patterns backed into system. An analysis of US survey data examined state-level structural racism across areas like political participation, employment, and incarceration disparities, and looked at self-reported heart attack in the past year. In adjusted models, several structural racism indicators were associated with higher odds of heart attack among Black respondents. For example, one employment disparity measure had an odds ratio around 1.74, and incarceration disparity around 1.32, with other domains also showing elevated odds. This is not about blaming individuals. It is about acknowledging that risk can be engineered and then showing people how to protect their hearts anyway. Now, the most important part. We may not be able to control every environment, but we can reduce the damage discrimination does to the cardiovascular system. This is the heart protection plan for discrimination days. Number 1, stop gaslighting your own body. If your chest tightens, your heart races, and you feel wired and shaky after unfair treatment, do not tell yourself it's nothing. Name it. My stress response is activated. Number 2, use a 60-second physiology reset. You can do this in public, silently. Do one simple thing your nervous system understands. Lengthen the exhale. For example, inhale gently, then exhale longer. This is not mind over matter. It is a signal to the body the immediate threat is passing. Number 3, don't stack triggers. You are carrying unfair treatment. Avoid adding fuel, dehydration, sleep deprivation, stimulant overload, rage workouts when you are already flooded. This is how small sparks become big events, especially in people with coronary artery disease. Your body is already carrying enough. Do not add more fire. Number 4, protect sleep like medicine. If discrimination reduces nighttime recovery, your next day starts from a higher baseline. That link between discrimination and impaired nighttime blood pressure dipping is one reason sleep protection matters. Sleep is not escape. Sleep is cardiovascular repair. Number 5, if you don't have heart disease or you have already had a heart attack, emotional stress deserves the same seriousness as physical strain. The mental stress ischemia signal, where higher discrimination linked with more stress-related oxygen shortage in the heart, means emotional load belongs in recovery planning. And yes, sometimes ischemia can be quiet. Your heart can struggle without sending a dramatic warning. Number 6, build co-regulation. One safe human, one check-in. A 2-minute call with a trusted person after a discriminatory incident is not just emotional support. It can downshift physiology. One safe human can help the nervous system remember it's not alone. And for clinicians watching, ask one question many of us were never trained to ask. Do you experience ongoing unfair treatment or discrimination that affects your stress level? Because discrimination is not only a social issue, it is a cardiovascular risk context with measurable associations in major cohorts. Discrimination tries to do 2 things at once. It tries to shrink your life, and it tries to live inside your body. But your heart is not a disposal site for other people's cruelty. You deserve health, not just survival. So if you've been carrying unfair treatment in silence, please hear this as truth. You are not too sensitive. You are physiologically human. And when we protect the heart, we also protect the future.